The Confederate Army's Department of Texas was building up 4 regiments of the new Arizona Brigade for an eventual reconquest of the lost rebel territory. Colonel Baylor had started recruiting for this brigade before he was kicked out of the Army, and then the task was taken over by Peter Hardeman. These hybrid regiments were raised in Texas and mostly populated by Texans, but they were still organized under the Arizona flag, and they still had a present minority of officers, NCOs, and enlisted men who were from Arizona, and were also peppered with other defectors from New Mexico and California. The designation of 1st Texas-Arizona is shorthand for the 1st Texas Cavalry Regiment in the Arizona Brigade. Hence, the 1st Texas Cavalry of Texas and the 1st Texas Cavalry of Arizona were not the same unit, although they worked together many times. The 1st Texas-Arizona Cavalry was organized around Dallas County. Captain Peter Hardeman of the 2nd Texas Cavalry of Texas was promoted to commander of the 1st Texas-Arizona. This regiment was headquartered first at Victoria and then at Fort Hood near San Antonio. This is not the same Fort Hood as the one in Killeen that we know today, but they were named after the same rebel general. The 2nd Texas-Arizona was formed in San Antonio and was commanded by George Baylor, John Baylor's brother, who also served in New Mexico with the ex-governor in 1861, until the Los Angeles Mounted Rifles arrived in Mesilla. The LA Mounted Rifles had successfully escorted Albert Sidney Johnston from Los Angeles to Confederate territory so he could receive his commission in the Texas troops. Then, George Baylor resigned his commission in his brother's regiment, went to Texas, and was recommissioned as one of Johnston's staff officers. After Johnston was killed in the Battle of Shiloh, Baylor returned to Texas to rejoin his old comrades in the recovering Sibley Brigade. In late 1862, Baylor was promoted to lieutenant colonel and became commander of the 2nd Texas-Arizona Cavalry. Another officer who returned to Texas after Johnston's death was Alonzo Ridley, former undersheriff of Los Angeles and captain of the LA Mounted Rifles. Early in 1863, Ridley was promoted to major and was made deputy commander of the 3rd Texas-Arizona. The 3rd Arizona Cavalry's commander was George Madison, former deputy sheriff of Tucson. This regiment was primarily composed of white Texans from Burnett, Bell, and San Baba counties, although Company B recruited Anglo-Texans and Tejanos from around San Antonio. However, Philemon Herbert's Arizona Cavalry Battalion served as the scouts for the 3rd Regiment. They were among the few Arizona troops who actually served in Arizona during the Civil War. Finally, the 4th Texas-Arizona Cavalry was commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Spruce Baird, the former Attorney General of New Mexico who defected to the Confederacy. Baird's deputy commander was former California State Assemblyman Dan Showalter, who, after he was released from prison at Fort Yuma and forced to take the loyalty oath, made his way to Texas through Mexico in order to join the Arizona Brigade. The 4th Texas-Arizona was the problematic regiment. It was recruited from the outlaws, draft dodgers, and border ruffians west of the Pecos River. We can see in this photo of Company D that some of the officers and men do have uniforms, but a lot of the soldiers were in civilian clothes. The lack of uniforms and other supplies was a constant burden for many of the Arizona troops while they were still fighting in Arizona, and clearly the Arizona Brigade was also at the bottom of the Quartermaster Corps' logistical priorities. What makes the Arizona Brigade unique is its different fate from the other famous Confederate brigades, like the Stonewall Brigade in Virginia, or Hood's Texas Brigade, which served and fought together as iconic units throughout the war. The Arizona Brigade, by contrast, was split up for most of its existence, with its 4 regiments attached to 4 different brigades. Hence, there was very little esprit de corps among the Texas-Arizona troops, except among the soldiers actually from Arizona, including the exiles from New Mexico and California, and this was a pretty small club.